Hey guys, it's Abby. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you 30 glitch in the matrix TikToks. If you guys come across any glitch in the matrix TikToks you want to see me include in a future video, feel free to tag me in them. My link is down below. Also, please check out my Instagram and TikTok. I post spooky special effects makeup over on those platforms, and if you guys like this video, I have a feeling you will like what I post over there. If you guys like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, click the subscribe button down below, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I post every Sunday and sometimes Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And without further ado, let's get right on into the video. Our first TikTok is by the user ThatSoshJ. She tells us a story from her aunt who worked in a psychiatric hospital. She had a patient who, it appears, actually somehow managed to time travel.
So, y'all, I'm sitting here minding my business in my house coat, cozy. I got the heat on, rub my feet together, and I stumbled down this rabbit hole, y'all. And let me tell you, I am glad I did, because what? So, my auntie works at a place where, they send people who they think are one of those institutions, right? So she was telling me about this lady that they had there that was there because she was making claims of being from a different timeline, a different dimension, and somehow stated that she just woke up in 2024, right? Okay, you following me? Keep listening. So this lady came to the institution. She was admitted they ran tests on her, and long story short, they ended up not being able to find any evidence that this woman was lying in any way, shape, or form. And I mean, every test that they ran and all the evidence that they did find honestly did support everything that she was saying. Like, they could not find a hole in her story at all. So this woman's story goes like this. She wakes up, it's 2024. She's looking around like, where am I? What's going on? And how did I get here? Right? Okay. So she ends up going outside and stumbling upon a stranger who she described as having colorful hair, face tattoos, and piercings, which scared the shit out of her, I can imagine. So she literally is looking around in this futuristic world compared to where she woke up from, and she asks this man, who looks very odd to her, I'm guessing, and she asks him, "Are you an alien? Where am I? What's going on?" So you can imagine straight out of the gate, this man's probably thinking like, "Lady, who are you? Are you crazy? Like, go away." She proceeds to start telling this man, "I am from the 80s. When I went to sleep, it was 1984, I believe they said. And what year is it now? What's going on?" This man proceeds to tell her, "Baby, it is 2024. Like, did you bump your head before you went to bed? Because it's not the 80s. It hasn't been for quite a while." So the guy proceeds to ask her multiple questions about different things like the Mandela effect and so on and so forth. So he starts asking her questions about like the Bernstein Bears. I guess the Bernstein Bears, were spelled different. And so he asked her, how did he remember them, and how did she remember them being spelled? She responded that she remembered the Bernstein Bears being spelled with the A. That's number one, with the A. Which would mean that she wasn't from today. She was from back then when it did have an A. Then he proceeds to ask her about Nelson Mandela, the whole gist of the Mandela effect. And she tells him, yes, Nelson Mandela is the president in South Africa. At least when I went to sleep, he was. He's not dead. This man is still very much alive. So he's asking her all these different questions, and she literally gets every single last one of them correct for her being born or going to sleep in the time period that she said she went to sleep in. Okay? So at this point, the man is intrigued. So the man shows her TikTok, and they get on TikTok together, and she kind of goes down this whole rabbit hole of like different dimensions, timelines, and she's 100% convinced that somehow she ended up switching timelines. When she went to sleep, she woke up, it's 2024, she does not want to be here, and she needs to go back ASAP. So luckily this woman had shelter because the house that she woken up in was a house that her family owned, and apparently it was still in her family in 2024 because that's the house that she woke up in, and so that is where she was staying at. So she goes back home. This woman goes down like this whole long rabbit hole of like conspiracy theories, trying to figure out what happened and how can she get back home, to the point where she is like obsessed with it. She's starting to go crazy with it. Like, this is all she's doing every day, every single day. She's saying she has a husband, she has children, and she needs to get back home ASAP. She got a family, and it ain't no reason for her to be in 2024 all alone. So this woman, long story short, ends up going crazy with these conspiracy theories, and then one day she walks into a scientific research center where she's located, and this woman basically has a whole plan devised of this device she needs made in order for her to go back to the 80s. So that does not go over well, of course. The police ended up being called, and she kept coming back day after day, and, which eventually led to her being instituted. Like, they put her in a crazy house where she met my aunt. And she told my aunt her whole story. There's a lot of details and things that I'm leaving out. If y'all want them, I have to put it in a part 2. But, yeah, which is where she met my aunt, though. So she confided in my aunt, telling her, her whole life story, everything that was going on, and, how she was determined to make it back home, and she just did not understand or could not understand how she ended up here to begin with, but she was determined to make it back home. She had to make it back home to her family, her kids, and at this point, that was like her life's mission. This video is already too long. If you want to know what happened after that, then I'll do a part 2. Or if you have any questions about anything that I left out in this part, then yeah. But to me, that was just so crazy, and it made me kind of start going down a rabbit hole and going crazy too, because I started thinking, like, what if she's in lying? Like, so many people just like to say that these things are lies, but what if this lady is not lying? Like, we have seen weirder and crazier things happen in this lifetime, and how did she get here? Because I want to go to sleep and wake up in a different time.
Honestly, I think it's like completely possible. Like, I don't know. There's so many weird things that happen. I really do not doubt that it is a possibility that somehow that can happen. Maybe I'm a little crazy for thinking that, but there's so many things that it's like, I never really discount anything because there's so many possibilities in life. Like, I really think anything could happen. So I don't doubt that there's a possibility that somehow she managed to completely like jump timelines and years just by falling asleep. If it is true, however, like, I really hope that there's a way she can figure out how to get back to her family back in the 80s, because I'm sure that would be pretty distressing. It's not even like you somehow magically went to another country and you have to figure out how to get back. That's at least a relatively simple solution, but how do you time travel? Like, that's a big problem. But I think it's so wild that they're like obviously trying to debunk her and like help her at the psychiatric hospital, and they cannot find any inconsistencies with her stories, and it seems like she is telling the truth. And I think maybe it's because she is. I don't know, like, she very well could just have some elaborate story, or, some mental illness that like somehow created the story that completely checks out. But also she could just have somehow accidentally time traveled in her sleep. Our next TikTok is by the user Under the Capricorn Sun. This story in particular is fascinating to me. She tells us about a time where she was lucid dreaming and believes that she kind of peeked behind the veil into who is running the Matrix.
So I had a literal we're in the Matrix dream about 2 months ago. I'm a lucid dreamer. I literally always wake up in my dreams. I have been lucid dreaming since I was a kid. And after having this dream, I have not had a lucid dream in almost 2 months. So I've just decided that I'm going to talk about it because I have no idea what to make of it. You can go watch my like dreams playlist on here if you want, but essentially I have lucid dreams all the time. I wake up at like the smallest mention of something that is not based in reality. This is frequent for me. It has been happening since I was a little kid. It leads to some very cool dreams, some very interesting stuff, but this one was actually scary. So essentially I had a dream. It was just like all the other dreams. Like, I was in my bedroom, I'm playing the piano. I think I'm 17. I'm at my parents' house. It starts out, like I'm doing something kind of mundane and usual. And then I have this strong feeling like if I look out of my bedroom window, it's not going to be, the view of the forest that was my parents' backyard. So I look out the window. Sure enough, there's dream characters everywhere. There's streets. It's like a whole circus outside. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm dreaming. But I didn't want to say that out loud. And I was alone in my bedroom. So I was like, okay, so there's no dream characters here to kind of like take me away. No dream police. So I sit down and I'm like, I'm just going to play the piano. I'm just going to sing. I'm just going to try to be creative in this space. Hopefully I don't wake up. And that'll be fine. I'll just be kind of lucid here. So I'm playing the piano and my fingers start doing that dream thing where you're like kind of getting sucked into stuff. The piano is kind of being weird. And so I get a little bit freaked out and I go like, I'm dreaming, like stop, like whatever. So immediately when I'm like, I'm dreaming, cut. Immediately the piano stops being weird, like the room stops being weird. I kind of like look over to the door. There's a woman standing there with a clipboard. So then I'm in this room. This girl's there. She's got like a little pixie cut. She's like, oh, you gotta go. Like, she got the clipboard. I'm like, okay, I know I gotta go. But I'm like, can you just like answer some questions for me? So she comes over. I'm sitting on my bed. And as I'm asking her these questions about like why I have to leave and why I keep waking up in my dreams, I'm kind of looking around and all of a sudden like the walls start to be weird. If you've ever seen Community and you know what the Dreamatorium is, it kind of starts like glitching. Like it's like, am I in some sort of like weird white room that has like lines and it's almost like a projected virtual reality? Like that's what it looked like. So as this like dream woman's talking to me, suddenly everything turns into this very like, it's a virtual reality space and it's almost like the VR dies and this other woman is standing there and she's like, she gets real weird. She's like, oh my God, no, like I have to fix this. What? She's like, you were supposed to wake up. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you're just like not supposed to be able to access this space while you're in a dream. Like you should not be here. And I don't know how you got here. And like, we are going to be in a lot of trouble. And I was like, what do you mean by we? So essentially she takes me out of this room and we are on some sort of like a spacecraft and she takes me over to this screen. It's like in the wall and it's showing like past dreams that I've had from like this camera perspective and I'm seeing them and I remember that I've had these dreams. I'm like, how do you have access to this? She's like, I actually have this whole file on you. Like we've been watching you and like essentially, you know, like we know that you can lucid dream, like, but you're not supposed to be able to leave the dream and come into like what is here reality. And I'm on literally, it's like a spacecraft, but it was very weird. And essentially she keeps showing me like the moments in dreams when I become awake. And she's like, humans aren't supposed to be able to do that. And we don't know why you can do that. But like, this is you waking up in all your dreams. And there is like this shift in the dream. And I can see it from like a third person point of view instead of my experience. But it's all dreams that I remember having in the past. And I'm like, I just want to explore. So I don't know what you're talking about. She's just like, no, it goes beyond that. Like, you shouldn't be able to do this. She brings out this folder and it's numbered. Like I have a number, like a case number. And she's just like, yeah, your number, whatever. And like, we've been watching you for a while because like you can do this and nobody else can. And like, we just want to know why. But like, essentially we're going to have to stop it from happening. So I'm not gonna lie, at this point, I start getting really freaked out because I'm lucid. I'm physically like in a body. I'm there. Everything feels very, very real. And I'm like fully aware of who I am. I know that I'm like back asleep on Earth. I'm in a dream. Like I know everything, but I also have all these memories of like all of my dreams as well. And so she takes me into this room and it's like a waiting room and there's all these people who are dreaming and they're like catatonic and they all have these handlers, but like literally they're catatonic. Like I'm trying to like look at them, get their attention. Like nobody is responding. They're all asleep and something's like wrong with them or wrong with their dreams and they're waiting to be kind of like processed. And they're in this room. So then these like military people come up to me. They're not like United States military. It literally like, I don't know how to explain it. They seemed human to me, but it felt like futuristic or alien or something. Like, I don't quite know. It was like this group of people. And they come and they like escort me to a bridge of some sort. Like not a full bridge, like the bridge of a ship. And this is where it gets really weird, but they start asking me about like vaccines or like shots or something. Like they're asking me about that. And I'm like, yeah, like I've got all the shots on Earth that I'm supposed to get. And they were just like, no, like something's wrong with your DNA. Like you're not supposed to be able to wake up here. Like we're going to have to give you this injection and then you'll never be able to lucid dream again. And I was like, excuse me, what? And this handler woman's like, apologized. She's like, I'm really sorry that we have to do this, but like, we have to do it. You can't be here. And so I'm just like, what are you talking about? They start talking about like B12. I don't know where that came from. They started talking about like certain genes and then they put these like dots on my veins. I was like, get off of me. But I like can't wake up. I'm lucid, but I can't wake up myself at all. So essentially I have this conversation with these like higher ups, like whoever are the captain or whatever. And they're telling me that like, they're asking me questions. They're asking me about my experience. I'm asking them about like why I can't be there. They're kind of being like, well, that's classified, whatever. And then they like prepare this injection, and they give my handler like a shot, and they're just like, okay, you're gonna have to like take her back to the room, give her this injection, and she's never gonna be able to lucid dream again. And I'm like, what? So I get taken back to the room, right, with this woman, and I'm like, please don't do this. Like, I love lucid dreaming. I don't want to not be able to lucid dream. And I kind of asked her, I was like, what is the problem? She's like, she said something about like, I'm able to see beyond, and I shouldn't be able to like push through the layers of that reality, but I can, and it's dangerous. So I was like, please don't do this. So then she goes and she leans in and she like doesn't give me the shot. She like squirts it out. She's just like, I'm actually a huge fan. Like, I've watched your videos, like I've been following you, and I've asked to be assigned to this case because I have been watching you essentially like your whole life. And I think this is like really amazing that you can do this. She's just sort of like, I'm going to help you out. And so essentially she told me to just try to like pull my consciousness back, try to be like as unconscious catatonic as I can be. And like I started crying, and she's like, that's fine, but like you have to just like wake yourself up. So I just like pulled my consciousness back, and I was like sobbing, and I woke myself up. And then it was crazy because essentially like she was telling me like, if they find out I didn't give you this shot, like they're gonna come looking for you. They don't want you to be able to like dream like this again. And then when I woke up, I literally had like 104-degree fever. I was not sick when I went to bed, and then I woke up with this 104-degree fever. Felt like I was dying, and I was sick for like 4 days with like this horrible flu that came out of nowhere when I had that dream. And ever since then, I haven't had another lucid dream, like at all. In fact, I'm having like weirdly normal dreams, like dreams about stressful things going on in my life, like dreams that would wake me up, and I have not had another lucid dream. So I don't know what to make of that. It really scared me. And to be fair, actually, like I got so delirious with fever. I was like, I told my fiance about this dream, and then I was like, I am going to like go back to sleep, and I'm going to make a deal with the people that like if my fever breaks, and because it wouldn't break, like I was taking medicine, my fever would not break for like 3 days. I was like, if my fever breaks, then like I won't lucid dream anymore. And I went to sleep, and I do not remember having any sort of a dream about that, but I did wake up, my fever was broken, and I have not had a lucid dream since. So I literally don't know what that means. And if anything, it's really hard to think about because I'm just like, it was so real, and I can very vividly remember being there for like the whole dream and what everything looked like and how futuristic and alien it was. And it was actually really scary. Like when I woke up, I was so paranoid that I wasn't going to be able to remember it. And I was so sick that it was like really hard to even like write it down. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts or if anybody else has had any experience like this. Essentially, like I don't want to be like we are stuck in a matrix or anything like that, because maybe dreams are just weird things. But considering I've had psychic dreams, I have dreams about people's deaths, like when they die, I have like premonitions, and that's really connected to the real world. I'm just sort of like, I don't know what to make of this dream. And like I said, it's been 2 months, and I don't think I've woken up in a dream since. So that's that.
I think this is such a wildly detailed dream for it to not have some validity to it. Like, maybe it's just me, but even my dreams recently, my dreams have been like pretty accurate to life, kind of annoyingly so. Like I will think that I need to like tell my mom something, and then I have a dream that I tell my mom that thing, and then the next day I'm not sure if I actually told her or if it was in my dream. So I've been having like very accurate dreams these days, but even still there's like a little bit of wonkiness to them, or like things that don't make sense. And even if they feel realistic, I can pinpoint usually the fact that it's a dream. So the fact that she is like having this like hyper realistic dream, like she's kind of in another dimension or behind the scenes of dreamland, I guess, it feels like almost too real to not be kind of true. I personally don't really believe necessarily that it's like people are running us or we're like a video game or something. I'm more of the belief that there are different timelines, like we are who we are, the world exists, and it's not just like some made up kind of illusion. But I do believe that there's like different timelines, and we can, you know, hop timelines and manifestation, or, you know, in the instance of, I guess maybe the previous story, the lady somehow hopping years potentially. But I don't believe in the theories that there are people like running us all like we're a video game. So I kind of would interpret this dream as energies playing the role of people in her lucid dream state, and it's like she's unlocking certain levels of consciousness that other people haven't. And it's kind of like her brain's way of showing her that she has gotten so far, or trying to kind of like convince her not to be that in tune with the universe, like some negative kind of thing, trying to draw back her progress, if that makes sense. That's just my personal theory. I know there's some people that like believe in the whole we are in a simulation and this is like a video game and people are running us. That very well could be true, but that's just not what I personally believe in. I think that there's so many ways to interpret this dream, but I do really think it is so crazy that it is just so realistic. It completely tracked. It wasn't like some random thing. Like sometimes I'll be in, you know, my childhood home and then all of a sudden I'll like pop into the desert randomly, and obviously it doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem like that it was like that in any capacity. It seemed like everything flowed like how it would if it was real life, and not necessarily the kind of choppy unexplainableness of a dream. So I don't know, I think that this is absolutely insane that she had this experience, and I really do think that it was some kind of message, or she tapped into some kind of different frequency that we normally are not able to. That's just my personal opinion. This whole story was absolutely mind-boggling to me. Our next two TikToks are by the user Margot Ross. The first story she tells us is from her mother. This is also a very, very fascinating story to me. Her mom is on a road trip in the middle of nowhere and is about to run out of gas, and she ends up going to a ghost gas station.
I want to hear all of your glitch in the matrix, unexplainable, weird stories, because they are fascinating to me. And we can make this a series. This can be episode 1 because I have plenty of them. This one's my mom's. She was driving from Atlanta to North Carolina. It's the middle of the night. She's on the phone with my grandma, and my grandma is helping her over maps, Google Maps, because my mom was running out of gas and she was panicking a little bit because she was in the middle of fucking nowhere, okay? Finally, over the hill, she sees a lit up beautiful gas station. So she pulls in, she pumps her gas, uses her card, and then she goes to walk in to pee before she leaves. So she's walking towards the door, and as she gets to the door, her mom called her and goes, "You ran out of gas, didn't you?" And my mom's like, "No, I'm at a gas station. Is my car, do you not see it?" She said, "No, your car's like parked in the middle of nowhere. Where are you?" And she said, I'm at a gas station." And as she's saying that, she goes to pull the door and it's locked. And she looks up and there's a close sign, and she was like, "Oh, I just got gas, that's weird." She turns around, everything's dark. No lights on, no people, no cars, bars on the windows, boarded up windows, a completely abandoned gas station. Ugh, it makes me want to throw up thinking about it. So of course, like any normal human, my mom's like, I've lost my mind, or I've fallen into a different dimension. She speeds off, gets on the interstate, completely weirded out, looks at her gas tank, her gas is full. She got gas at this non-existent gas station. It's not on her credit card history, nothing. They go back, look on maps, there's no gas station there. Never figured it out. It's been years.
I honestly can't imagine the feeling of shock when she turns back around and realizes that all the lights are off and the pumps are not actually working. On top of the shock when she is driving away and she realizes that somehow she did manage to get gas. I've watched this video so many times just because this story is so fascinating to me, how that is even possible. It's not, technically, but it happened. And the fact that later on they couldn't even find like an abandoned gas station on the map, like there was no evidence that there ever was a gas station there, makes it all the more insane to me. In itself, it's kind of scary that she's in the middle of nowhere in a pitch black gas station that's run down. I feel like that's obviously kind of a dangerous situation for anyone to be in, but especially a woman. So, I mean, I'm really glad that nothing happened. There was no like strange people kind of lurking around the area. But also it's like, at the same time, it's like someone was looking out for her, because she managed to get gas at a non-existent gas station that, you know, when she was there was actually shut down and abandoned, and somehow she has a full tank of gas. Like, I would love for that to happen. I would love for my car just like magically replenish gas when I needed it to. That would be ideal. But I don't even know how on earth to explain this, other than, you know, maybe someone was just like looking out for her to make sure she had enough gas to make it safely to her next destination. I don't know, but it is crazy to me. In the second story she shares with us, it leans more towards the paranormal aspect of things. And she says that her family had a mimic living in their house that would frequently mimic all of her family members. And one night she has an exceptionally scary experience with this mimic.
Glitch in the Matrix story number 2. To clarify, this might be a little bit of a spooky ghost story. I consider ghosts to be like a glitch in the Matrix because I think that it's just like different dimensions going on at the same time. Too long to explain, but if you go down more of the Casper route, you might think I'm possessed, and that's okay. So this was back when I was like 12 years old. I slept in one of those like classic 90s white metal bunk beds with the white metal bars above your head if you were on the bottom bunk. It's the middle of the night. I'm laying in my bed. I couldn't sleep, but it's like silent. There's no TV on, no sound, no nothing. And I hear my mom calling me from across the hallway. My door was open. We already had a residential ghost that we knew about and we weren't scared of. It was a friendly ghost, whatever that means. It was basically like having a parrot. So the ghost or like whatever it was would throw our voices around the house. So like use our voices and yell from up the stairs and stuff while we're standing there. So like I could be at the top of the stairs with my mom and sister, and my mom's voice from the bottom of the stairs would yell up and say, "Girls, hurry up, you're gonna be late." And we'd all just look at each other. It became so normal that it was actually funny and like kind of entertaining. After 2 or 3 times of her calling me though from the hallway, I was like, okay, that's gotta be my real mom and something's wrong. But I was terrified at that point because it was pitch black and I was 12, okay? So I get out of my bed and I creep down the hallway. I get halfway down the hallway and I can see into her bedroom, the door's open, and she's dead asleep. So of course I freeze and I hear just one last time, for good measure, my mom call my name from her bedroom while I'm staring at her sleeping. And that's not even the scary part. I sprint to my room and I go to jump in my bed and something hits my face. So I turn on the light and all 4 corners of the sheet on my bed were tied. I'm gonna throw up. All 4 corners of my sheet on my bed were tied to the metal bars that go over your head when you're laying in a bunk bed. My sheet was now like a hammock. I screamed bloody murder. My mom and dad come in my room. They literally could not get the knots undone from my sheet. It was knotted multiple times to the top bars of my bunk bed, tied so tightly that I didn't even have to convince my parents that it wasn't me. They completely believed me because there was no way that a 12-year-old girl could tie these knots so tightly onto a bunk bed.
The fact that her parents didn't even question if it was actually her or not because they knew she couldn't have possibly tied that sheet so tight is, I think, the scariest part for me. I think these days a lot of adults are more open-minded, but you know, stereotypically it's like the parents don't really believe the kid who's having this like weird paranormal activity, and it does sound like her parents are familiar with it given the fact that they know that there's a mimic in the house. But the fact that it's like they come in and they're not even shocked that it wasn't her because they're like, yeah, there's no way you could have tied this so tight, is unbelievable. And I think it actually makes it like even scarier because at that point there's no denying. There's no being like, oh, maybe somehow I did this in my sleep. Maybe I like forgot, which I feel like is pretty impossible, but at least maybe you could try and gaslight yourself into thinking that it wasn't something scary. Because I think in this case, it's not the Casper she at the beginning explained it to be. I definitely think maybe it could have just been like kind of joking, harmless spirit when it's mocking them. However, you know, typically mimics are not good, so there's that. But I think when it comes to, you know, like tricking her to get her out of her room and then tying up her sheets like that, I don't know, it doesn't really seem that funny to me anymore. It doesn't seem like a little jokey, fun spirit anymore. It feels more malicious. So I don't know. I definitely think there's something going on in that house. And it seems like this kind of thing is like kind of common for her family. Our next TikTok is by the user Tati's Creepy Stories. She shares with us 3 glitch in the matrix experiences she's had in this one TikTok.
These are a list of stories that definitely make me feel like we are living in a simulation. Number 1, I remember this girl from my high school passing away in a car accident. She had driven into oncoming traffic because she was texting. I remember very vividly as my sister, myself, and a bunch of our friends went to her funeral. We lived in a very small town, so this was talked about for weeks. Now fast forward 10 years later, and I have told my now fiance the story so many times that she remembers the girl by name, mainly to warn her against texting and driving. One day, my fiance happens to be scrolling on my sister's Facebook and goes, "Isn't that the girl that passed away?" When I went to check it out, it was in fact the same girl who had died 10 years earlier. Now living in my same old town, married to an old friend of mine, they even had a kid together. And no one remembers the car accident. Number 2, I knew my uncle had passed away. He actually died while I was at work. My mom called me, gave me the news. I was devastated. One of my coworkers even gave me his condolences. I did in fact end up even going home early that day. Now fast forward a couple weeks, my sister and I are having a conversation and she mentions how my uncle and aunt are going off to go do something. And I'm confused and say to her, what do you mean? He's gone. She responds with, no, he's not. I then called my mom and she in fact confirmed that my uncle was alive and well. To this day, it completely blows my mind that I imagined this whole thing and for weeks truly believed that my uncle was dead. And number 3, one night my girlfriend and I decided to go to Chipotle for dinner. The Chipotle was located in a small shopping center that had a burger place and it had a wine and spirits right next to it. When we pulled up on a Friday night, we saw that all of the lights were off inside the Chipotle. They normally have tables outside and all of those were put away. It was as if it was completely closed. We were confused but decided to kind of go around towards the back of the building and go out the front again. This must have taken about 30 seconds for us to go around, but when we did and came back to the front, the whole place was lit up now. All the tables were outside, there was a bunch of people out there eating, music was playing, it was as if they were having like a party. There's absolutely no way to explain how all of this happened in the 30 seconds it took us to turn around.
I've heard so many stories similar to the first one she shared, where it's like someone swears that someone from their school passes away and then later on in life finds out that they're actually alive and well and have a family now, and like vividly remembers going to some kind of service for them, remembers their funeral, and yet here they are alive and well all these years later. I have heard that story so many times and it seems like something that happens to a lot of people somehow. I guess it is a good thing because the person is alive and well. It's just like, it's so weird because they must have jumped timelines or something to where the accident or whatever didn't occur and that person is actually, doing great. But it would be such a weird thing to, obviously 10 times weirder than, getting the same pair of jeans, like just showing up in your house. It's like an entire human life that you mourned and knew was lost and now they're just there again. Like that's 10 times more unexplainable. And then the third story is so weird to me. The fact that her and her girlfriend both experienced it. It's not just one person where you can be like, oh, I don't know, like maybe you misunderstood the situation or whatever. There's 2 people that witnessed this and have the exact same experience. There's kind of no way to deny that. I really have no idea how to explain that. I don't know why Chipotle would just randomly be shut down and then after you make a lap that it's up and running and there's a bunch of people there. Like, I feel like that is one of the most random glitch in the Matrix I've ever heard. I don't know how to explain that. I think honestly that one is a little bit funny because it's just so random. Our next TikTok is from the user Whitney Euland. She tells us about a really weird experience she had while she was walking her dog and ran into a random man who shouldn't know her dog but does.
Okay, y'all, I think I just found a glitch in the Matrix and I need someone to explain to me what the fuck just happened. So I recently, like literally this week, just started this routine where I'm taking my baby and my dog Otto for a walk every morning after breakfast. This is a brand new routine and we have not gone on the same path more than once. And today I'm walking past this school and there's this employee there and he's probably like mid-50s and like a school teacher. So all this to say, he's like not one of my TikTok girlies. And we walk past and he says, hi, good morning. And then he looks straight at my dog and goes, hi, Otto. And then after that, he looked at me all embarrassed and then turned around and walked away. How the fuck did he know my dog's name? For reference, this is the size of my dog, so it's not like you can read his name tag. And his name is Otto. Like, it's a German name. It's not like it's a super common dog name. And then when I walked past where that guy was, he had been replaced with another woman in her mid-50s. And she looked at us and said, good morning, and then looked at the dog and said, oh, how cute. Like what I think that the original guy was supposed to say, except that he fucked it up. what just happened?
I've actually had this experience before, and I guess mine are more explainable because I live in an apartment complex, so maybe someone was talking about my dog. I have had multiple experiences where people I have never met before were like, oh my gosh, is this Oscar? And I'm like, yeah, how do you know him? And another time where there were kids down the hall and they were like pointing and whispering to their mom like, look, that's Oscar. And I know for a fact like he's met maybe like 2 kids that I run into in the building and it was not them. So I don't know how they know who Oscar is, but maybe this is like a thing. I don't know, but it seems like she had the same experience, but hers is even less explainable because at least there's not the thought of maybe word of mouth throughout the building. Although again, I don't really know why people would be talking about him, except maybe how precious and adorable he is. That makes sense. I don't know, the fact that it's like also that guy was switched out so quickly with a different lady, it's like he might have gotten in trouble that he said the wrong thing and they switched him out with someone else. But I really don't know. Like that is so weird. Like how do these people know our children, our furry children, having never met them before? It's weird. It's actually something that I think about frequently. I think about my experiences all the time. Our next TikTok is by the user Rachel Lee07. She shares with us that she is experiencing a duplication glitch with a painting she got from the thrift store.
So I have a glitch in the matrix story. I am still shook. Of course, my husband always has, you know, a rational answer for everything, but I can't make sense of this. Okay, so I have this picture that I got at the thrift store that really doesn't match anything, and the shape, the size of it kind of, it just didn't go anywhere in my house, but I loved the picture, so I had to have it. And like I saw this picture all the time. It was like out in my garage, and it just like was in my face a lot, and I was like, I gotta do something with that. So you know what, I got it and I brought it out here to my back porch. I'm gonna show you guys. And I just gotta say, it's a pretty unique photo, so I don't think I would have bought it twice. Like when I bought it, I remembered it and I liked the color, and just like I said, I'm gonna show you. In my opinion, there's 0 chance I would have bought it twice. Okay, so that's the picture. It's of a giraffe and it's got this really pretty tealish blue background. Oh my gosh, do y'all see that little light thing? What is that? What is that? So when I was cleaning the other day, I see this here and I pick it up and I'm like, what photo is this? The same exact one. So the one that was beside the secretary, I kept seeing it and just thinking it was like some of my son's artwork until I was cleaning and I picked it up to move it and I was like, how'd this get out here? Came outside, here's the other one. I don't remember buying 2. I don't think that I would have bought 2, but you know, if you're one of my friends and you brought it to my house and didn't tell me, let me know. Like, I'm open to that. I'm not completely freaked out yet, but it is a little weird.
First off, I want to say it's specifically interesting that this is something from the thrift store, because obviously, you know, if you are a thrifter, you know that there are typically not like multiples of things unless it's specifically a set. So in the case of the painting, thrift stores wouldn't have like a collection of paintings necessarily, because it's usually like people drop off their stuff, and unless someone specifically had 2 of that painting to drop it off, like the odds of someone else coming in and dropping off that same painting and the thrift store having 2 of them on hand at the same time is very, very low. You know, it's not like a Home Goods where they have like 5 of the same painting. And also, if she only recalls buying the one, that makes it even more strange. I do think it's a very cute, like funny painting. But I think with something that, the bright blue background and the fact that it's like a giraffe with a flower, it's like a fairly unique, like bright, noticeable kind of piece of art. So I think that you would notice if you bought a second one. Like, I think that specifically you would remember. It seems like maybe her in another universe lost theirs and it just appeared in her timeline. That's my only thoughts. Our next TikTok is by the user Spirit Sis. In this story, she tells us about a time she experienced a duplication glitch with some photos taken at a haunted location.
I have a crazy glitch in the matrix story I've been wanting to share. When I was 16, I started to become a little more open with some of my friends about my psychic medium abilities. And one of them suggested we go to this very famously haunted place in my hometown that is a bridge over railroad tracks where a lot of teens in the 70s jumped and hurt themselves. At this point, I'd already dabbled in paranormal stuff, but I was a little hesitant about the idea, but I still went through with it because hashtag peer pressure. Go to the bridge and instantly it's just like bad juju. I looked over the side of the bridge and I felt like someone pushed me. But that's not all. We went down around the side and walked and went underneath the bridge and we heard all kinds of voices and it was absolutely terrifying. It was 2005. We really didn't have cameras on our phone yet, so I brought a disposable camera with me to take photos on the bridge and underneath the bridge, and I took maybe about 5. That's when we heard a blood-curdling scream in the distance, and we just ran and got out of there. A month later, I got my photos developed, and I completely forgotten that I had any photos. But when we were looking through them together, we went through them all, and there was like cute pictures from the summer, like, you know, pictures we really wanted. And then at the end of the roll, we looked through and we saw like all of the bridge pictures and we just got freaked out. So we decided to throw them away. An hour later, we were showing our other girlfriends some of the photos and we got singles and we were flipping through them. And at the very end, we realized the pictures we had thrown out had reappeared. What was even crazier is when we were going through the photos showing our other friend, all of the pictures had doubled. So we just had singles and then all of a sudden we're looking at doubles of each photo. So we're picking up the photos, looking at the backs. We're like, oh, it must have developed doubles instead of singles because it kind of felt heavy and sticky. So we're thinking maybe they stuck together. And the first time we went through the photos, it was just a single that or a double that had like attached to one another. So my girlfriend, because she used to work at the Rite Aid, was like, you know what? There's one way to solve this. Let's go back and talk to the person who developed our photos and I can look at the machine and see what happened. We're literally standing there beside the machine and we're looking at it and it says single. And we're like, is it possible that maybe something happened where it just developed doubles? And he's like, that's never happened since we had this machine, but it's possible. And by the way, these pictures were like, had orbs in them, had weird foggy mist. It was creepy. So she throws it away again. And yet again, these photos are literally doubling in my hand. I could feel them. They were super thick and they just kept on getting bigger and bigger. And my friend, who's a super skeptic, she was driving the car and she just started like screaming. She was like, what the hell is going on? And I just told her, we need to go back to your house and regroup. Having a single go to a double was not that big of a deal at that point, but having a single all of a sudden turn into a triple or a quadruple was unheard of. We go back to our house and we lay out all of the photos. Like I have the stack in my hand and we sit down and I'm like, okay, one by one, I'm going to go through every single photo and once it doubles, I'm going to stack it on top of the other doubles. We can count how many copies of the photos we have. The first photos that were like cute photos of all of us girls, and I lay them out and then I get to the last 5 and they are the bridge photos. And so far so good. The bridge photos had 7 copies now. Only the bridge photos, not the other photos that I had. I'm not even exaggerating. And to this day, we have no clue how a photo went from a single to having 7 copies. And my friend and I threw away the photos and we never talked about it ever again. If you want to hear more Glitch in the Matrix story, head over to my podcast, Psychic Scoop.
This one, I actually genuinely have no explanation for. The fact that she said she could feel the photos duplicating in her hand is like one of the craziest things I have ever heard. That's like magic. I don't know how else to explain it. And the fact that there's photos that they had thrown away that are now back in the stack of photos, thing after thing that should not be happening. Like you would not think is possible, and yet it's happening. It happened to them. They experienced it. I don't know if they like angered something when they were kind of doing their investigation, or if something, you know, was attached to them and was kind of trying to mess with them. I don't know what it was. It seems like it was kind of a combination between a glitch in the matrix and a spiritual, like paranormal experience. I don't know, like it seems like it's kind of like the best of both worlds situation, that there's a little bit of both going on there, and I really don't know how to explain it whatsoever. I think this is probably one of the craziest things I have ever heard. Our next TikTok is by a user gives you the chills. I will have to mute this, but there's not really anything specific that you need to hear from the video itself. Unfortunately, there is copyright music over the couple things that are said, but you were not missing out on anything. The main thing that I want to show you in this video is the footage itself. What you're about to see is in what appears to be a hotel room. In the mirror reflection of the outside, it appears to be snowing pretty profusely outside. But when the camera pans over to the window and looks outside, it is clear as day out there. I don't know how to explain this. I think there are a lot of these clips of evidence of a glitch in the matrix that you can kind of explain away or is kind of just a trick of the light, but I don't know what the explanation for this would be. There for sure could be a reason why this is happening, but I cannot think of anything other than somehow the mirror is showing them a different timeline where it is snowing outside. If you have any way to explain this, I would absolutely love to hear it, but I really have no idea what is going on here. And I keep watching this video over and over, trying to figure it out, and I just can't. So I would love to hear your thoughts. I think this one is pretty insane to watch. Our next TikTok is by user Olivia Opera, who experiences a duplication glitch with a headband she has been missing for 2 years.
Something has happened, and I need somebody who's versed in general spookiness to explain to me why this might have happened, because I think that there's like another reason behind it rather than just a weird coincidence. So fairly boring story. A few years ago, I bought this black velvet headband. For me, it's like the perfect kind of finish off accessory for most of my winter looks. Just like plain, simple, you know. Anyway, around, I would say, almost 2 years ago, it seemed to like disappear off the face of the earth. I've tried to find it many times since, and like it's nowhere in my flat. I even looked at my parents' house, nowhere there. So at some point I was like, oh, I must have just accidentally thrown it out in like a decluttering sesh without realizing. So last week I was like, okay, winter is around the corner again, thank God. I'm just gonna order another one because it goes with so many things. So ordered another one. It arrives today. Okay, so it doesn't go at all with what I'm wearing now, but just so that you have a visual. I just tried it on. I went to sit down in the living room, and then I'm just talking to my husband. I look over, and what is on the TV stand? The OG headband. I will show you that TV stand and you will see, like, there is no way that I have basically just not seen it for like nearly 2 years. So like, as you can see, I mean, there's not like a ton of stuff on that. That's how it usually looks. I am here like most nights of my life. Anyway, sorry, I've taken it off now because it really doesn't go. But so how weird is that? How does that happen? Is this some kind of like cosmic happening? Are the fairies trying to mess with me? I would say like maybe my husband has some kind of secret gaslighting campaign against me, but I don't think he knew what was going on in my head about my headbands, so I really doubt it. Yeah, so I want to know, what does it mean basically when you've lost something and then it comes back to you? I've kind of heard a bit about what it means when it comes back to you after you've accepted that it's gone. What might it mean specifically when the new one that you have ordered has arrived that very day and then it decides to come back to you then? I don't think there is a logical explanation for this because, I mean, there's just not. So, spooky girls, help me out, please? Okay, lots of love.
Okay, now listen, there are plenty of times that I lose things or misplace things, and then as soon as I buy a new one, they magically appear where I swear I looked for them. But in this case, I really don't think that headband could be sitting on that table for 2 years and her not notice. It seems like her place is pretty spotless. It's not like cluttered or anything. And the contrast between the white TV stand with the black headband, like, I don't think that you can miss that. Even in that situation where, you know, you're searching for your phone and it's actually in your hand, or you're looking for your glasses and they're on your head. I don't think it could be a situation like that because I really don't see it going on for that long. Also, to mention that she's obviously had other people in her house. I am sure that in the 2 years someone would notice that and maybe point it out to her and she'd be like, oh my God, that's where it was. I really don't see it being the case where it's just your eyes are glazing over it and not seeing it. That is a very long time for you to be staring at it and not seeing it at all. So I don't know, maybe it was like a prank that just, you know, went on too long where her boyfriend thought that it would be funny to hide her headband and just it went on too long and couldn't admit that he did it, and once she got the new one he decided to set it out there, and it very well could be a prank, but I just don't see that being likely. I definitely think that it's just one of those things that, I don't know, a glitch. Maybe her and another timeline lost their headband and it appeared in her timeline, and it's like a cycle where they're all offset from each other, losing their headbands, and it's appearing in different realities. I don't know. That's a possibility, but I don't know. I really don't think she kind of not seeing it for 2 years. I really think that she would have noticed it if it was sitting on that table all this time. Our next TikTok is by the user The Librarian. She tells us about an experience that she just had where she was at work and she experienced time freezing.
You guys, something really weird just happened to me and I'm kind of freaked out. Like, just listen. So I was off work today at 2 p.m. By the way, I work at Barnes & Noble. Just for, you know, reference sake, everybody knows Barnes & Nobles are not small. They're big. They're big bookstores. So I was shelving a book and then a coworker walked past me and said, bye. And I was like, oh, you're leaving? And she was like, yeah. So I looked at my clock and I was like, oh, I'm leaving in, like 2 minutes, because it was 1:58. And she was like, don't you love when you like look down into your watch and you like see that you're about to get off work? And I'm like, oh, I totally love that. And then I said, are you okay? And she was like, yeah. So I gave her a hug and then she left. So then I went to go clock out and a customer stopped me and they were like, can you help me? So I was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. What are you looking for? So then I walked all the way to the back to the kids section, from the front of the store to the back, after talking to a customer, after talking to my coworker and giving her a hug. So I go to like type in what the customer is looking for. Sorry, you guys, I'm like really freaked out. I went to type in what the customer was looking for and I looked at my clock because I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be off. It was still 1:58. It was still 1:58. And I remember thinking to myself, I said, self, that can't be right. That can't be right, because as long as it took you to say whatever it was to your coworker, give her a hug, have some small chatter, walk all the way like to the back, get stopped by a customer, walk all the way to the kids department, go on the computer, and it's still 1:58. So I was so deeply unsettled. I was like, no. And I was like, did my watch stop? Did my watch stop? So then I looked on the computer terminal and it said 1:58 too. So I remember saying out loud, I was like, this is weird. This is really weird. So then I kept staring at my watch. And then a lady came over to me, she talked to me, and I typed something else in. And then I looked at my watch again, and it finally said 1:59. You guys, my internal clock is pretty good. I know more than 1 minute passed for me to do all of that. There's no way that it remained 1:58 to 1:58, and then I sat there looking at my clock, and it was still 1:58. I don't know what this means. Find this on the web. Shut up, Alexa. I don't know what this means. I don't know. I am deeply unsettled. There's no way. Y'all, there's no way. Like, did time stop? Did anybody else experience something like this around this time? It takes me about a minute to walk from the front to the back in a meandering style, let alone talk to a customer, talk to a coworker, and look something up and walk. It was 1:58 for like 2 to 3 minutes. That's what I'm saying to you guys. It was 1:58 for like 2 to 3 minutes when it should not have been 1:58. Anyways, CERN, the eclipse, I don't know. Y'all, I am not okay. Because that was weird. It was so weird that I looked at the computer terminal to see if maybe, I don't know what I was trying to see. Y'all, that was weird. By the way, it's a digital watch. It's not analog. The computer terminal said the same thing. It said the same thing.
I definitely do have experiences where I think more time has gone by than it should have, or less time has gone by than it should have, or like, there are times where minutes seem a lot longer than 60 seconds. As big as Barnes and Nobles are, to like pace back and forth the store twice, have a conversation with your coworker, have a conversation with a customer, start looking something up, and have all of that happen in 1 minute does seem pretty unlikely to me. I think for sure things can be done in a short amount of time, but I don't think that that would be like a 1 minute situation, at least in my opinion. So I do think maybe there's something like weird going on here, unless like her watch had a glitch or the computer time had a glitch. That is completely possible. My computer frequently has a glitch and I have to reset the automatic time because it will, like, the time will pause when I close my laptop the day before, and when I open it up, like, I'll use it on a Friday, and then when I open it up on Saturday, it says Friday at 3 whatever the last time I closed it, and I'll have to manually reset it. So that is a possibility that, you know, technology sometimes malfunctions, especially when it's getting old, like my computer. So, you know, we have lots of options, but I do think it is weird, and I would probably be pretty weirded out if that happened to me. The next TikTok is by the user Haunted TikToker. We are again experiencing a duplication glitch in which this girl has 2 identically broken Apple pencils.
I'm having a glitch in the matrix moment right now because I have an Apple Pencil. I can afford 1 Apple Pencil. And when I was babysitting in Colorado, the family had a dog, and the dog got into my backpack and it took said Apple Pencil and it chewed it. And I know that it's my Apple Pencil because there's this piece missing. There's supposed to be a white plastic, and the dog chewed it and the cap is missing. It just lives like this on my iPad on a case. It's lived on my iPad on a case, right? Why is there 2 Apple Pencils? And both of them are missing said plastic ring. And the cap. This was under my couch and this one was on my iPad. I was like, this lives on my iPad.
What always gets me with these is when something is like damaged and the duplicated item is also damaged in the exact same way. I just cannot get enough of that. Like, it's one thing for you to have a second Apple Pencil show up randomly, but for it to be damaged in the exact same way, to me, that's less of an explanation. You know, that has to be like a really, really, really strong coincidence rather than just, you know, maybe someone found an Apple Pencil outside your door and like brought it in thinking it was yours or something like that. Like, there are so many like potentially plausible explanations if it was intact, but it's so weird that it is missing the cap just like her other one. So I don't know. I mean, it would have been nice if the universe duplicated a fully functioning one. I just realized that I'm missing my Apple Pencil. That's not good. BRB, I guess. I gotta go search for that. Found it. Must have fallen off when I almost knocked my iPad off the table earlier. No glitch in the matrix, coincidence. Our next TikTok is by the user Amanda Please. In this TikTok, she tells us about a time she experienced a shapeshifter at work. And then she finds out that she is not the only one to have this experience.
Y'all, I can't even right now. So, We have a shapeshifter at work and we're all kind of freaked out and I don't know what to do about it. Let me tell you how I know it's a shapeshifter. So a couple days ago I was taking out the trash with my coworker and I was standing next to her by the door. So she was on my right side by the door and our shoulders were touching and we're looking out to see if the bins are full. And we work like right next to a Goodwill, so there was a bunch of nice furniture out by our dumpsters and we were like, let's go check it out. But next thing I know, she opens the door and walks back into the building and I'm like, oh, okay. So I follow her in and I go and close all the doors. So through the outside it's locked and nobody can get in. And so once I get to the second door, I started to think, I was like, wow, normally she like waits for me in this part of the room. Maybe she's gonna scare me. So I go to the second door and I peek in and then nobody's there. And then all of a sudden I hear on the walkie, Amanda, why did you lock me out? And I'm like, what? And so I go back outside and I see my coworker like far along where this ramp is. She's like towards the middle of the ramp. And I'm looking at her like, how did you get over there? And she's like, Amanda, I've been here the entire time. I was wondering why you just left me here. And I'm like, what do you mean? You were just right here next to me and you walked right into the building, so I just followed you. And she's like, Amanda, that wasn't me. And I'm like, what? And so I'm like trying to think of what the heck just happened. I was like, did I follow a ghost? Was there a glitch in the matrix? Did I like shift realities for a second? Like I was completely confused. And then not too long after that, my coworker, one of my other coworkers was in the back and he was all by himself and he heard a woman say hello. And when he turned around and said yes, there was nobody there and he was like all freaked out and he told me about it because I told him what happened when we were back there. And then I come in today and talk to my other coworker and she's like, dude, that spirit or whatever is still here because it was pretending to be a coworker she opened with. She was like, I saw him standing outside of the front door staring at all the cars. And then next thing, like I know, like a second later, I like turn and I see him coming up from the back like hallway. And she looked back at where what she thought he was standing at and he disappeared and he was coming up. Like the real him was coming up. And she's like, were you just outside? And he's like, no, I was in the back. So this thing is a freaking shapeshifter. I know it. Like this is not just a normal ghost. And I don't know what to do. It keeps pretending to be us. So now I'm just waiting until I actually fully become face to face with this thing. Because I was next to it. I saw the back of it and it looked like my coworker. But I haven't seen this thing face to face and I'm freaked out. Like, what do I do? And the thing is, it knows I'm onto it. So this is gonna be interesting. Pray for me. Let's hope I don't get hurt.
I think it's so crazy that she swears she saw her coworker go inside to the point where she just blindly followed her, acknowledges she was acting kind of weird, and locked up the door, thus leaving the actual coworker locked out there. I also think it's scary after you realize that you just followed some completely unknown entity back into the building blindly because they tricked you well enough to think that it is your coworker. I would be like kind of questioning every interaction that I had after that experience. And then to find out that she is not the only one who has had this experience. To me, it seems less glitch in the matrixy and more paranormal potentially, that there is a spirit in there that is kind of messing with everyone. Maybe it could be some kind of glitch in timelines where but it for sure could be some kind of glitch in timelines as well. I don't know. That is so freaky to me. The next TikTok is from the user Younger Than Tomorrow. She has a very weird experience on her drive to work to the radio station she works at, and she seems to experience some lost time.
The Matrix glitched so hard on me yesterday, and I have receipts. I'm so excited because I thought I was losing my mind. And maybe I am losing my mind, but I have receipts, which is great. Have you had like strange things happen the last couple of days? I don't know if like CERN is fired up again or what's going on, but it started Saturday. Saturday, we went to a concert together, me and my 17-year-old, and we were in a parking garage that we couldn't get out of. Like, we couldn't get out of it. I mean, I'm not trying to be dramatic. Obviously, we did get out eventually, but it started with the elevator. It wouldn't take us to where our car was parked. Like, it kept taking us to different floors to the point where like it was funny, and then it kind of stopped being funny, and then we just got off and we weren't on the right floor and we didn't even care. And then we walked around the level and around the level and around. Like, it was a thing, and no, we hadn't been drinking. So then yesterday, Monday, I'm driving into work. Now I have to set something up for you a little bit, but again, I'm going to bring receipts because I want you to see like something happened, like something happened, and I don't know exactly what, and maybe you can explain it to me. But this has to do with radio, and radio doesn't pause. You know, live TV, you can pause TV now. We grew up in a time when you couldn't pause TV, but you can pause TV now. But you can't pause live radio. You know what I mean? So I'm driving into work, and I work at a radio station. So spoiler alert, it's the station that I was driving into. I listen on my way in. My boss is on right before I come on. And I was at the end of my driveway, and I realized I had to call my husband and ask him a question. Now, at this particular point of the hour, it happens to be a newscast is ending, and then the national news is starting. It's not a news station, but it just happens at this point of the morning. The local news is ending, and I heard the guy give his out, and then there's like a little music bed, and then the national news starts. So he had just given his little signature goodbye for the local news, and I was like, okay, well, I have about 3 minutes. I like to listen to my boss on the way in, see if there's, you know, anything they're talking about that I need to know about on the way in. And so I thought, I have about 3 minutes till they come on, because the national news and then a couple of commercials. And so just as the local news was wrapping, I called my husband, because I'd forgotten to ask him something. We ended up having a conversation, okay? We talked for 6 minutes. He sent me the call log, because I was like, so we talked for 6 minutes, okay? And it was a little after 8 o'clock. It was almost 8:01, but not quite. And so we wrap up the phone conversation, and I hang up the phone. And when I hung up the phone, my radio came back on, and the national news started. And I glanced down at my clock, and I was like, well, that's weird. That point, my clock said 8:07, and I was like, the national news starting at 8:07, that's wild. What on earth played between the local news and the national news that didn't start till 8:07? That's kind of weird. So I'm listening. I'm not thinking too much about it. The news wraps up, and my boss comes on and says it's 8:03. It's like 8:10, and I'm looking going, wow, he's really off. That's kind of weird. Well, I wonder if the clock on the computer's slow. That's my next thought. The clock on the computer must be slow, right? And then a couple more songs play, and then he comes on again, and he says it's 8. I want to say he says it's 8:17. I'm gonna show you. He says it's 8:17, and it's like 8:24, and I'm like, this is kind of messed up. I almost feel like I should call him and tell him, you know, you're giving out the wrong time during morning drive. That's not good. But also, you know, okay, that's weird. So I get to work, and I park my car and get my stuff and go in, and I get in, and he's coming down the hallway, and I said to him, hey, is the computer on the clock on the computer, is it wrong? And he said, I don't think so. Why? I've just been looking at that. I haven't been looking at my phone. I said, well, you gave a couple time checks, and it wasn't the same time I had. And he was like, so he goes running in and looks and picks up his phone, looks, and he goes, no, look, it's the same. And I go in and look at the computer, and no, it's the same time. Okay, everything's fine. Everything's normal. Okay, that's kind of weird, right? Like, what? Maybe he misread the time on the computer. I don't know. So when he's finished, I duck in, and I pull up the log of what has already played. And the top of the hour news hit at 8 o'clock. It hit at 8. In my car, it didn't play until 8:07 when I got off the phone. I don't know what happened from 8 to 8:07 when I was on the phone with my husband. but apparently time stopped in my car. Let me show you. This is the end of our phone call and the beginning of the national news. And look at the timestamp, 8:07. But wait. Did you catch that? He said 8:03, but the timestamp is 8:09. And it's not wrong on the dash cam because my phone also has the same timestamp. And then there's another one. But it's not 8:08. You can see on the timestamp, it's 8:14. But by the time I got to work, time had caught up with itself. And the log swears the news started at 8, even though it wasn't in my car until 8:07. What happened to time yesterday? And was it only in my car, or did it happen to you too?
The first logical explanation for this would obviously be that there was some kind of glitch with the clock in her car. However, the fact that her dash cam also had the exact same incorrect or ahead time that the car did is weird. Obviously, I think this is way bigger than just a simple mistake of glancing at the clock and like misreading the time, because it went on for so long and she realized the time difference so many times and then proceeded to go into work and assume that, you know, the clock at work was wrong or something like that. It's not just one, you know, simple glance mistake where you look too fast and misread it. It happened time and time again, and she was fully convinced that not even it was something paranormal or a glitch in the matrix. She thought it was like a normal, everyday kind of mistake with technology. But then to be found out that nothing was actually ever wrong to begin with, except on her end. And again, with the dash cam footage, having the audio from the radio matching up with the timestamp on the dash cam to completely corroborate her entire story is pretty crazy to me. So I don't really know how to explain this other than some kind of weird like wrinkle in time or something like that. I don't know, but I also am a firm believer that time is what you make of it, and if you think you don't have enough time, you're always not going to have enough time. If you think you have too much time, you're always going to have too much time. Maybe there was just some kind of glitch in communication there on her end. Our next TikTok is by the user Be Kind of Weird. She tells us about a time when she was a child and she experienced some kind of weird floating lights out the front of her house.
So I have a really weird story to tell that's been on my mind a lot lately. One of many, but I'll just stick with this one for now. Now, I love listening to weird stories, paranormal stories, crazy things, glitch in the matrix type stuff that happen to people on TikTok, but I have never heard anyone experience anything like what I experienced when I was about 8 years old. And so I'm just curious if anybody has a similar story to share. So when I was about 8 years old, I lived in a 2-story house with my sister and my parents. We each had our own bedroom. My bedroom faced the front of the house. Okay, so my window was looking straight across the street of the house across the street from me and the street in between our houses. So one night, it was getting dark outside, maybe like 9 o'clock at night or something like that, and I'm getting ready for bed, and something suddenly was like telling me, hey, go look out the window. I don't usually just go look out the window, but I'm like, okay, I'll go look out the window, whatever. I go and I look out my window, and what I saw is just has forever baffled me. So I lifted up my blinds and I see like 5 or 6 very, very bright floating lights. They're like circular lights floating in the middle of the street. So in between my house and the house across the street, floating about eye level. Now keep in mind, this is a 2-story house. So they're floating, 150 feet in the air, something like that? Well, that's weird, right? They're floating very controlled too. It's not chaotic. It's not spastic, nothing like that. It's just very nice and controlled movement. So the first thing that I did was not freak out, but I was like, oh, wow, this is really interesting. So I called my sister in from her room right next door to mine. I'm like, oh my gosh, come here, look at this. Like, that's so weird, right? So she comes running in. She's like, what? I said, look out the window. So she comes over. She looks out the window. What does she see? Nothing. She sees nothing. She's looking at the window and she sees the house across the street and the street in between our houses. I'm like, excuse me, what is wrong with you? Do you not see the floating lights? No, she didn't. She did not see them. I saw them. I continued to watch them for a little while. When she gets bored and she's like, this is stupid. Why are we looking at the house across the street? She left. She went back to her room. I continued to watch these lights. So this was not just like something that came for a couple of seconds and then went away. No, like they stayed. As long as I stayed, they stayed. Eventually, I closed my blinds and I went to sleep. It's been about 30 years since that happened. And what's crazy is you might think, oh, well, you dreamt that. No, I did not dream that because my sister still remembers it. And every couple of years when it creeps back into my head, I message her, I text her, I see her, whatever. And I'm just like, you remember that? And she's like, yeah, I do remember that. She remembers thinking that I was the crazy one. And I remember thinking that she was the crazy one. Like, why can't you see this? We were both perfectly sane, for the record. No medical issues, nothing like that. Now, to make it even weirder, a couple of years ago, I'm a grown adult now, okay? I'm living at home, my own home with my own family, and we have a security system on our home with cameras. So what we caught on our cameras one time was one of those balls of light, and it came right up to the camera, and it moved back and forth a little bit, and forward and backward, and it stayed there for like several minutes. It was not a bug because we have lots of bugs. I live in the woods. We know what they look like. That is not a bug. So yeah, anyone been visited by balls of light within like decades of each other too? This was not scary either. It was fascinating. It was very intriguing. So yeah, point me to balls of light TikTok, would you?
What do we think about this? The fact that she could see it and her sister couldn't. Also, the fact that her sister couldn't tells me that it couldn't have been some kind of like reflection of lights coming from inside the house on the window, because obviously her sister would have seen this. So the fact that it's visible to one person but not the other, it's almost as if she has some kind of ability where she can see these things and her sister does not. But what stood out to me is that I had a weird, similar experience when I was a kid. And now that I get to bring this up, I hope maybe someone can tell me what I saw, because I've tried Googling and I've thought about it for years and I have no idea what it was. I know it was for sure on a Sunday. If I can figure out the year by the time I edit and upload this, I will pop it up with text on the screen. But it was probably between like 2009 to 2014. I know that's like a wide range of dates, but it was a Sunday in between one of those years, a week or two before Halloween. I was sitting in the family room of my parents' house as a kid, and the family room looked directly into the living room, which had windows that looked out the front of the house. So I'm sitting there looking into the living room and out the front of the house. The blinds were closed, but they were like sheer blinds. They were like fabric sheer blinds that you like pulled up with a string. So I could see like lighting and stuff going by. And all of a sudden, there was this blinding green light that came through the front living room windows, and I could see it from the family room where I was sitting. It was just this blinding green light that came in through the windows for maybe like 5-10 seconds and then went away. No one else saw it. My parents and my brother were sitting in the kitchen, which is family room, living room, and then kitchen was over here. So they would have seen like a glow coming in, but they didn't see it. It was just me. I sat there and I stared at it until it disappeared. And I've never experienced anything like that since. So this story really reminds me of that. And I feel like maybe there is some correlation between our two stories. Also, it happened in Illinois, if that helps anyone. So I don't know. Personally, I think that maybe they're connected. That there is some kind of like weird light thing that only certain people can see that is just going on outside. Maybe it's a glitch in the matrix. Maybe it's a glitch in the simulation, if you believe in the simulation. Again, I personally don't, but you know, I'm open to anything. I'll consider any possibility. So I don't know. I definitely think it could be correlated in some way, shape, or form. I don't know where she was located or when it happened specifically. But then also the fact that she said that she experienced something similar like a second time within the same decade. Pretty crazy that she's had two similar experiences where I've never seen my green flashing light ever again. Does anyone know anything about random lights that only certain people can see out the front of their houses? The next TikTok I'm going to show you is by the user Caitlin5Kids. Her story is crazy. She has a Groundhog Day experience where she relives the same day 3 times.
Glitch in the matrix. Did I just go nuts? I don't know, but I remember it vividly.
Yes. I thought I was the only one. Oh my gosh. A couple years ago, my husband came home from work and he brought soft pretzels and tasty cake home. I cooked chicken for dinner. I gave all my kids a bath. And I got in pajamas and I went to bed. I woke up on the fucking couch. My husband is walking through the door and he's holding soft pretzels. And I'm like, what the fuck? what day is it? Like, what the fuck is going on with that? I was so discombobulated. Took me a while to get it together to realize, I guess I fell asleep and dreamt that. So I said to him, like 20 minutes later after a shower, I'm like, do you have tasty cakes in the car? He's like, yeah. I'm like, did Ed give them to you? He's like, how do you know? Yo, it just kept getting freakier and freakier. I promise there's not a part 2, but oh my gosh. So then I go to the kitchen to go get the chicken. I'm cutting the chicken. I fucking cut my thumb, just like in the fucking dream. That's when I said, screw this, got the chicken, put it back in a bag, put it in the fridge, ordered pizza, took a soak instead of a shower, just to make sure that I changed it up. Got in pajamas, went to bed, woke the fuck up on the couch again. I thought it was fucking Groundhog Day. I mean, I was like freaking the fuck out. Luckily, thank God, the third time, like the second time it happened, like I basically had to relive that day like 3 times. The first time, and then the second time, and then this third time, which was the final time. So the next time I woke up on the couch, I did what I had dreamt in the first dream. I made the chicken, whatever, and then I woke up and it was the next day.
I would probably losing my mind after waking up the third time. Like the first time, I would be like, okay, maybe this is a really, really weird coincidence. But when I woke up on that couch again, I don't know, I would probably assume that I'm just stuck in this cycle of events for the rest of my life, and I'd be so scared. The fact that she was smart enough to just like pretend that everything was fine and go along with what happened originally and that fixed the glitch was really smart of her. Dude, I probably would have been like freaking out to my husband like, oh my God, I've lived this day for the third time now. And that's when people would come grab me from my house and lock me up for forever, because either I know something I shouldn't or they think I'm absolutely insane. So I'm really glad that she was able to keep it together to like get herself out of this weird loop thing, because I probably would have lost it completely. I really, really enjoyed the story. Like I can't believe it. Like it's so crazy that these things happen to people. The next TikTok is by the user The Manifest Portal. In this TikTok, she tells us about a time where she experienced a glitch in a real-time interaction with a friend.
Okay, I need to know, have you ever experienced a glitch in the Matrix? Because I have experienced quite a few, but I'm going to tell you about my most recent one. So if you don't know, I recently went viral on my personal account with 15 million plays on one of my videos, which then boosted my algorithm and then got heaps of followers. And I'm also an actress. I just do a lot of things because I want to get the most out of life. But anyway, so I met a friend of a friend recently, and that friend of my friend was sort of like gushing over me being famous, like TikTok famous. And I was trying to stay present, but I was really getting in my head, and I was saying like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Like I don't want to talk about, don't make this about me. Like I really like went into myself because I wasn't prepared for that to happen. But this is where it gets weird. She said to me, I also remember seeing you in this TV show playing this character. I wasn't in that TV show and I didn't play that character, and the person who plays that character looks very different to me, but I auditioned for that character in that TV show, but I didn't get it in this timeline. And I said, oh no, like that wasn't me. And she said, no, I remember you. I remember seeing your name, Demi. And she said, I thought it was so cool because I have a cousin Demi, and it was like the second Demi I'd ever seen. And at this point, my friend had sort of like walked away. So it was just me and this new person speaking. So my friend didn't hear the conversation. But I heard this sort of pop sound, and I turned around to see what it was, and there was nothing that made that sound. And I turned back to her and I said, that's so strange, like I wasn't in that. And she said to me, you weren't in what? And I said, the TV show that we were just talking about. And she said, I've never seen that TV show. We were just talking about your TikTok videos. How did we get on this conversation? And I just said, oh, sorry, that must have just popped into my head. It's been a long day. And I've never believed in deja vu, and I've had so many of these experiences that now I question daily the fabric or the nature of our reality. So please, if you have a glitch in the matrix story, please stitch this. I want to hear it. I want to see it. Like, surely I'm not alone.
One thing I think is interesting is it's like if she zoned out and kind of had a daydream about this conversation happening amongst the actual conversation, you'd think the friend would like make a note and be like, hey, well, you kind of zoned out there, like what's going on? But it seems like she didn't do anything weird outwardly to the other friend other than, you know, bringing up this thing that she apparently never said. It's like, when did she, how did her brain have time to like cook this up so fast? That like completely envisioned this experience happening whilst she was already having a completely different experience. My only thought is that it was some kind of timeline jump, that she jumped from the timeline where her friend asked her about said show, which in that reality she was actually in. She jumped to the timeline where she wasn't in that show and her friend didn't actually ask her, but the memory somehow transferred over. It is pretty weird though that she auditioned for it and didn't make it. It's like, it really is like she came from a timeline where she actually was in that show, which is why the friend would have brought it up. Our next TikTok is for the user Libby Faye, and she experiences a duplication glitch with her daughter's books.
When I tell you the weirdest thing ever that I've ever experienced just happened to me, let me break it down for you, okay? I do have to say, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I love him. He is my Lord and Savior. I do not believe in the Matrix. Okay, let me just explain. I am OCD. I am a clean freak. I like organization, everything, okay? When I tell you I organize my daughter's stuffed animals and toys and books at least once a week, at least once a week. I just organized her books 3 days ago. I also want to preface by saying that I know my daughter's toys and books like the back of my hand. I literally clean them and organize them all the time. I'm so anal about it. And I also just know her books because my daughter loves books. We read books all day long. Here she is, another book in hand. Okay, her two favorite books, The Pout Pout Fish and I'll Love You Till the Cows Come Home. Right? Okay. My daughter received this book, I Love You Till the Cows Come Home, when she was still in my belly from her auntie, who has a beautiful note in here. Oh, wrong page. From her auntie. Okay. I also keep said book up here because it's her most read book. I know this book. Okay? Please tell me why she went to go grab a book down here, because we have so many books that we keep them down here. Even though we have so many, I still know all of them, okay? She grabs this book from there, and I'm like, oh, that's weird, because it's always up here. And I noticed that it's up there, too. So then I'm sitting here realizing she has two of the same books. Okay, explanation number one. It could have been one of her friends. I checked. Not. It's not. None of them left them behind. I would have noticed if she left with a book of her friends. And also, mind you, I just organized her books 2 days ago. Well, let me go a little bit deeper, okay, because this is really ironic. My best friend's daughter, her birthday was a couple weeks ago. I bought her this same book because it's one of Brinley's favorites in this form, okay? Why would I have bought it for her if we had one? I could have just given this to her. And also, there's no way, I remember everything she got for her birthday. There's no way I would have kept one, like duplicates. I would have brought this to the thrift store to give this away because they were like, we don't need two. Like, this is just bizarre. At first, I was like, that's weird. I've never experienced like a quote unquote glitch in the Matrix. And then I was like, no, like, actually, this is weird. And then I like almost got into tears because I was like, no, actually, this is really weird. Because I don't believe in the Matrix, okay? But like, this crap is weird. What the heck? So then I look up. It turns out people deal with duplicates of glitches in the Matrix all the time. Like multiple stories of people knowing that they just had one of that item. And then, bam, there's two. There's two. So now I have 3. One is for her friend that I'm giving. Again, why would I have bought this if I had 2 already? And my mom is like, Libby, there is a valid explanation. There is. No, there really isn't, actually. Because it doesn't belong to her friends. And I just organized it. And it wasn't there. Have you guys experienced this? Because I've never experienced this until this time. And now I'm like, what is happening? What is this? Okay. Please help me. I feel like I'm going crazy.
I think it's weird that it's like this very memorable kind of gift that she, like her daughters technically owned before she was born, and that there's another one of them. This is one of those things that I think you would for sure notice if you got a second one. Because it's like, it's something important. It's like something that you have more attention on. Where if it's like a book that you only read every once in a while, you might not notice that there's a second one, or if someone gives you a second one because it's not that important to you. But when it is something very important, obviously your attention is on it a lot. So you would for sure notice if another one somehow came into the house. The fact that she mentioned she specifically doesn't believe in any kind of like matrix or anything, which again, I don't believe in it in the traditional sense. I think there's for sure timeline jumps, but not necessarily like people controlling us. I think the fact that she is like very against believing in that because of her specific religious beliefs, the fact that she is still acknowledging that something really weird is going on, where she might not normally be one to jump to glitch in the matrix conclusions, says a lot about how weird she thinks the situation is. However, obviously, like, nothing is necessarily mutually exclusive. Like, I think that many things can be true at once. So as much as she has her own specific beliefs, I think, you know, there's still a possibility that there could be a glitch in the matrix. And I think there's just so many things in the world that could all be happening at the exact same time, and we have no idea. Our next TikTok is by the user Dussiletham. She shares with us a duplication glitch that involves her wedding bands.
So I took my rings off to go to get my dental implant surgery, and I come home and I go to get in my jewelry box and I find 2 more of the exact same ring. Stay with me. This is freaking crazy. So I had 2 of the same one. I had one on top of my diamond and one on the bottom. And now a third, the exact same ring, has shown up. And look at this. My rings were bent in the exact same place. See how it's like flat? Look at this. 2 of them are the exact same. And then this random one shows up.
So interesting, she said that she originally had 2 of the rings, and then a third one showed up, and only 2 of the rings have identical bend marks, which to me shows which ring is the one that was duplicated, because obviously it would have similar bend marks on it. I'm also assuming that because it's like part of her wedding set, that it is fairly expensive, so I think it would be kind of nice to like have another one show up just in case something happens to one of the other ones. And it's like a free little diamond gift. I don't know. I think it for sure would like throw me off for a minute. Like I'm losing my mind because I have another one of them. But once I came to terms with it, I'm pretty excited about having another like a diamond piece in my life. Our next story is by the user Divine Angel Wolf. She tells us that as she is closing up shop after her workday, she experiences a weird time glitch.
Alright, that was lame. So, I have a really crazy glitch in the Matrix story that I have to tell you because I've kept this inside for like 3 years. I wrote about it on Reddit when it happened, but I need to tell it in person because it's awesome. So anyways, hold on. Alright. I'm out of breath. I just fed my dogs. Okay. Anyways, so glitch in the Matrix. I'm a receptionist at a hair salon, and I get to start closing out for the end of the day at 5 o'clock. So I get the landline and I have my cell phone, and I'm walking down the hallway and I check the time on my cell phone and it says 5:07. So I'm like, all right, cool. I got plenty of time to do what I need to do. So I'm in the office for like 2 minutes. It takes me 2 minutes to put up the money and like put up the paperwork. So then I leave. I walk down the hallway and something tells me to check the time, but I look on the landline and the landline says 5:17, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, I was not in there 10 minutes. So then I decide to check my cell phone again, and that says 5:11, and I'm like, what the crap? Like, time just reversed. So then I'm like, all right, let me check the landline again. And now it says 5:12. Like, did I walk through some, like, weird portal? Like, what happened? But it was actually pretty cool because I've always wanted something like this to happen to me, and it did. So that was, like, pretty exciting. So, yeah. Has anything like this ever happened to y'all, like, with the time and it doing something weird like that? Let me know.
You know, at first I was thinking it for sure could be like the landline just has the wrong time. But when she then goes back to the landline and it like backtracked time to like match with the current time, that's when I lean more towards a glitch in the matrix versus just technology glitching. However, it is completely possible that somehow it could jump forward and jump back. I don't really know. I've never seen that before, so that's why I'm like, I don't think it'd be as common, but can't rule it out, I guess. I think it's just kind of weird though. She's kind of like running back and forth throughout the salon and like time keeps changing on her. Our next TikTok is by the user Calliope. She shares with us a time where she was in the car with her mom and she witnessed something very odd in the sky.
Okay, as a quantum engineer, I always get asked like what my opinion is on like glitches in the matrix and stuff like that. And little do y'all know is one of the reasons why I got into quantum is because of my own like glitch in the matrix story. So I have no idea how this is possible, and I totally get if you guys don't believe me. But in June of 2017, I was in the passenger seat of my mom's car. And where we lived was a little bit away from the city. It had a lot of underdeveloped housing and a lot of fields. And so one day we're driving and it's in broad daylight, and I look to the side of me and I realize in the sky there are 3 large green triangles made up of like beams of light. Like you can see through the triangles, but it almost looks like the beams of light are solid, if that makes sense. And as soon as I'm looking at it to figure out what it is, in an instant, it's gone. And I remember thinking like how weird that is, like how fast it appeared and went away without it like fading. And so I tell my mom, and of course my mom is driving. She does not believe me. And 1 minute goes by. We're driving and we're in this intersection and we're literally about to turn left, when all of a sudden, in front of us, are 6 huge blue hexagons made up of like blue light. So you could still see the sky through it. But the blue light itself, you could not see through. So it almost looked like a solid like object of some sorts that was encapsulating the sky. And everyone in their intersection sees it and stops. We're there for a couple seconds, and then my mom books it home. And after that, weird shit started happening. People were having electrical problems, our lights were constantly flickering on and off, our TVs were going to static, like weird, like it almost like ghost stuff was happening. And I looked it up, and even though all these people saw it, there was nothing online. Until 1 year ago, someone posted this about seeing blue hexagons in the sky in June of 2017. And if you look this up, they all say the same thing. The sky is made up of blue hexagons, and it all happens around the summer of 2017. I have no idea what happened. If anybody lived in California and like saw this, specifically by Sacramento, please let me know. I'm scared and I still don't know what happened. So I'd love to hear your theories.
This honestly kind of goes back to the story we heard earlier about the floating lights and my green light encounter. It seems like there's weird floating things in the sky all the time. Maybe these all aren't glitches in the Matrix, but alien activity per se? I don't know. I like the fact that there's like floating shapes and lights in the sky. The fact that multiple people saw it and then there later on was a news article about it is what really gets me. Again, it wasn't just her seeing it this time. Her mom also witnessed it and other people too. And to later on then have an actual report about it is crazy. Like I don't know how to explain it other than like something is going on for sure that is causing these things. Our next TikTok is from the user Laura X Beth. And in this one, we experience another ring duplication. Honestly, these people are really getting lucky that they're having like duplications of expensive items. Like, it never hurts to have a backup in case you lose something. So I am very happy for them that they now have a second wedding ring. That way you could take it on vacation, and if something happens to it, you don't have to worry about it because you got another one packed up at home. Just bring the duplicate on vacation, and then you never have to worry about losing the original. Next story is with the user Tiramisu57. In this story, she tells us her and her husband have been experiencing weird glitches in the simulation in this new neighborhood that they live in.
All right, so my husband and I are pretty sure that we're living in a simulation. The neighborhood we moved into last year is very bizarre and things are kind of on a loop. So we've called it the loop. We're pretty sure it's a simulation, and I'm going to start recording some of these things. But just for an example, I went to go get coffee this morning. It's about 10 minutes there and back for me to go get that. And when I left, I pulled out of the driveway. There was a woman who we see quite often with a stroller and a baby walking up and down the street. She was right at the end of my driveway when I left. When I got back, about 20 minutes later, she was in the same spot, moving very slowly. And I'm pretty sure it's a glitch. And when I say this lady was in the same spot, I mean she was in the same spot, not facing the other direction, coming back from like going to the end, turning around and coming back. She was still facing the same direction, going the same way, and basically in the same spot. I think I need to make this a series.
I definitely do think it's weird that this lady's like still in the same spot. I mean, maybe moved a little bit, but not very much. Unless she's just really taking in the sights or something. I think it is very weird that in all the time it took for her to, you know, drive to the coffee place, wait in line, get the coffee, get back in the car, and then drive back home, that she didn't move at all. What are the odds of that? And the fact that this isn't the only occurrence that they had, that this is very, very common, and they both are on the same page about potentially being in some kind of simulation. It makes me wonder, like, where specifically this is. Like, is this in Appalachia? Or the other neighbors noticing something? Have they brought it up to the other neighbors? It seems like something I for sure would be like discussing with people, but at the same time, like, I guess they might think you're crazy. But I would just have to know, like, have you guys experienced this too? Like, am I crazy that I'm seeing these things, or is this normal for this area? You know, like, I don't really know how to explain this. Our next TikTok is for the user YesDJAJ. In this clip, we see people on a hiking trail seeming like they are all glitching.
No, what the fuck is happening? I feel like I'm tripping. Like, what are they looking at? What is he looking at? Are they stuck? Dude, this is weird as fuck. This is so weird. What's going on? He's like, what the fuck?
Obviously this video like could be set up. I think it's so weird that all these people are like not looking at the sights. They're just looking at like random bushes and like the side of a mountain. It's not the normal sights you look for while you're on some kind of a beautiful hike. You don't just typically stare directly into the brush at nothing. So it seems like all these people are just malfunctioning, I guess. I think I'd be pretty freaked out if I came across this. Like, am I missing out on something? What's going on here? The next TikTok is from the user Dime Lifting. She tells us that she believes she is stuck in a lamp simulation. She goes on to explain what the lamp simulation is and why she thinks that she is also stuck in it.
I'm living the lamp story in real life and I'm about to lose it, so please watch the video I took of it and tell me how crazy I am. The lamp story, it's absolutely wild and true. Pretty much this guy was in college and he started to pursue this girl. She dated other guys, but eventually she got his attention and they started dating. Dated for a couple years, got married, and had a honeymoon baby girl. The man had a really good job, so his wife was able to be a stay-at-home mom and they just had the happiest family. Years later, they had a little baby boy and this man was just obsessed with him. Every morning he wanted to go in, be the one to wake him up, get him ready for the day. Eventually living the dream until one day he notices the lamp in his living room looking a little bit off. He isn't really able to describe what's different about it at first, he just knows something's off. He gets more freaked out by this mirror and fixated on it until eventually he just sits and stares at it all day and all night. There's nothing his wife or kids can do to break his trance. His wife ends up packing up the kids to go stay with her mom for a little bit, and as she's leaving, it suddenly clicks in the man's head what's wrong with the lamp. The lamp isn't real. Nothing is real. Not his house, not his wife, not his kids, not his life. All this information is flooding him. He slowly flutters open his eyes and realizes he is laying on his college campus that he was on nearly a decade ago. This man had been knocked out by a football player 3 times his size and had been unconscious for a few minutes on the pavement, during which his brain had created this entire reality. This wasn't something that he just woke up from, laughed off, and moved on. This followed him for the rest of his life. He even needed to be admitted a few times because of the depression of losing his entire family that had never existed. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I kind of believe that my whole life is just this weird PTSD dream from not being able to handle being in a plane crash. So I'm already skeptical about this life, and my husband came down yesterday and asked me why I was staring at a lamp. Staring at the lamp because something looked off. My husband had no idea what I meant when I said the lamp looked off, and he doesn't see what I'm seeing, but please, someone tell me that you can see this. I'm not crazy. Then a couple other family members, but absolutely no one saw what I was seeing. Cherry on top, I said, whatever, I'm just gonna get away from here. I'm going to the bathroom for a minute. And then when I came out, I asked what was up with the shower curtain. No one knew what I was talking about. Tripping. What on earth is going on? Is everyone just gaslighting me? I feel absolutely bonkers.
I will say the lamp does look a little funky. It seems like the shade's a little off center and it's kind of like vibrating. I don't really see anything wrong with the shower curtain, although the flower looks a little bit like misshapen, but there's something wrong with the lamp for sure. So it's not just her. This reminds me of how sometimes I really wonder if I'm in the Truman Show, and I've never said this out loud before, where everyone in my life is just actors and I am like a TV show. I don't know, sometimes I have that thought. And I'm like, there's no way that I'd ever know, you know, unless I like somehow did what he did. But like, probably unlikely that I'm in a Truman Show situation. So I'm just gonna keep on living my life. But I feel like the feeling there would be very similar, that it's like, you wonder if you're crazy, but it's like, how would I know that I'm like crazy and things aren't real? I don't know. I definitely, you know, I think she's real, but on her end, she might not believe me if she sees this. So I don't know, the lamp definitely a little weird for sure. And then to the story about the lamp simulation in general, I think it would be insane to be mourning a life that you never had because somehow in the moments that you were knocked unconscious, you lived an entire life. That is so crazy to just like mourn something that your brain created up so realistically and never actually happened. And also the fact that it's like years and years and years, but somehow like flew by, but like just actually only happened through a couple of seconds. So crazy. Our next TikTok is by the user RoxyJMUA, and she experiences a weird glitch in the Matrix where she finds a part of her phone case.
So I've just had a glitch in the Matrix. I see people talk about this on TikTok all the time. I've never experienced it, but I need to show you guys. So I was just putting something away on the tabletop and I saw this and I thought, oh no, have I broken my phone case? Like, and I'll show you my phone case in a minute. So I picked it up. This is my phone case, guys. So where has this acrylic butterfly wing part come from? This is my only case. Is that not the weirdest thing ever? Like, I don't understand. What is happening? I know it seems really minor, but it's really, really weird. It's freaked me out.
I think looking at this, it looks like that piece would fit in the bottom left wing if just like rotated slightly. But obviously the bottom left wing is there and completely intact. To me, this very much feels like in another reality, her phone case did break and she lost the piece and it somehow just like slipped through the cracks into her current reality and she found it there. Unless she has another one of this phone case and it is broken, I don't know where this piece would have come from. It is very clearly the exact same like material, color, everything as her phone case, but it just has no place to go. Our next TikToks for these are Hayes Lolo 90, and she experiences a very interesting time glitch that I cannot explain.
This morning I experienced an absolutely terrifying glitch in the Matrix. I am actually terrified. So I experienced a time travel glitch in the Matrix, and I'm basically gonna tell you guys what happened. So last night I set my alarm for 9:30 this morning. I'm freelance, so I don't have a job that I have to go to. I work from home, I create content, and I make music. And I was like, I'm gonna wake up at 9:30, I have a lot of stuff to do tomorrow. Oh my god, there's a really weird noise coming from outside right now. So I woke up at 9:30, my alarm was going off. My phone is charging next to my bed, always. So I unplugged my phone like usual, set it down on the other side of the bed, and I stopped my alarm. It was a beautiful day outside. There's no one downstairs because there's like a hole in my bedroom. I'll show you. So I sleep up here. There's like a hole to down here where you can hear everything that's going on. So I could hear that there was no one downstairs. Like I said, the sun was shining, it was beautiful. And I was like, I'm so relaxed, I'm gonna sleep for 5 more minutes. I didn't set an alarm, I never do this. I usually just wake up after 5 minutes. So I ended up falling asleep for a couple of hours, and I can usually tell the time in my dreams, like how long I've been asleep for. And in this particular dream I was with my partner, and I ended up telling him like I have to go because I have to wake up because it's like 11. It's gonna be like past 11 and I have so much stuff to do today. I can't believe I overslept this much. And I woke up and I reached over to where my charging place is, and I was like, oh, that's right, my phone's not there, it's on the other side of the bed. So I went to grab my phone, and at first I didn't notice this, but it was dark outside and there were people downstairs. And I was like, what? Have I slept until later today? So I checked my phone and it says 7, but not 7 p.m, 7 a.m. And I was like, that can't make any sense because I woke up at 9. It's gonna be like half 11. And I checked it again and again and again, double checking, and I was like, but that doesn't make any sense. And you guys might just think that I was sleepy and I dreamt my alarm going off, but if so, why was my phone on the other side of the bed? In my sleep, I'm really still. Honestly, when my friends come over to my house, they think I'm dead. I don't snore, I don't move around, I don't do any of that. So it's impossible for me to have unplugged my phone and moved it in my sleep. Which means I must have woken up at 9:30 because also my alarm had not gone off. There was no like alarm setting for 9:30. I checked, there was nothing. So that means my alarm went off at 9:30, I woke up, I slept until 11:30, and I woke up at 7 a.m? It doesn't make any sense. Same day, the outside was dark, people were downstairs. It was so scary. And then I couldn't go back to sleep because I was like, I've been caught in a glitch in the Matrix.
Honestly, I would love for this to happen to me. I mean, I love when I wake up and I realize I have like a few more hours to sleep. So honestly, I would love being panicked, thinking I overslept, and then realizing that I still have 2 more hours. That would be ideal. But the fact that she woke up, saw the time, and then rolled over, went back to sleep, somehow slept another 2 hours, and yet woke up 2 hours early still. Could be wrong, but that's not really how math works. So crazy. It's like, I don't know, because obviously she didn't sleep until the next day. Like, I have done that before. I completely missed a day and had no idea. So unless somehow she woke up and misread the time and then rolled over and went back to sleep, maybe, I'm trying to think of what time would be easy to mistake for 9:30 if you're just quick glancing at it in your sleep, unless it was like 6:30 and her phone was upside down, but then obviously the time would be like backwards. There is a very real possibility that somehow she misread it, but also time could have somehow glitched. You really never know. Like, I feel like there's just so many things that, so many weird things that probably happen on a daily basis that we don't even realize, and so it makes the ones that we do realize a lot more weird. like in this situation. Our next TikTok is the user PG Stories Official. In this TikTok, we see what appears to be a glitch with a bunch of deer.
Look at this. Look at this. There's one there. There's one there. There's one there. They're just standing in a line.
I think this could definitely be explained away by the fact that they're probably like frozen in fear because of the car and the people. But it does look kind of funny that they're just like frozen there and not, you know, dashing off, and they're all perfectly in a straight line. Again, I don't think that there's anything like glitch in the matrixy about this, but it does for sure look really weird. Final TikTok I'm going to show you is by the user Glitch in the Matrix. In this video, we can see what appears to be a car approaching the user, when in reality, somehow it is actually passing the user.
Thought I was tripping, so I recorded it.
I do think that this could be like a reflection of the lights on the glass, but the thing I think is weird is that you can actually see the car. I wouldn't think the reflection would be clear enough that you could actually physically see the car. I think it would just be like a light reflection and not the physical vehicle. So that's what's kind of like confusing me about it. I could very much be wrong, and it could be possible that it is like a reflection of the car too. But I think it just like, I haven't sat in many bus stations to like witness this and have this experience before, so maybe I am completely off. But I do think it's weird that you can actually see the vehicle, and it's not just like two headlights kind of floating as a reflection. Maybe I'm stupid and that's not how reflections work, but that would be my thought, is that it would just be like floating headlights and not the entire vehicle. So, I don't know. I think that one could probably be explained away, and maybe I'm just misinterpreting it, but I think it is interesting nonetheless. So that is it for today's video. Let me know your thoughts on these TikToks. If you have any way to explain them or debunk them, I would love to hear it. Please check out my Instagram and my TikTok linked down below, where I share spooky, at this point, spooky Christmas makeup, but spooky special effects makeup year-round. If you guys like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. I will pop a couple suggestions on the screen for you right now, and click the subscribe button down below and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I post every Sunday and sometimes Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.